Hi everybody, welcome to Mark's Backyard Birds. We're talking about battling squirrels, keeping them out of your bird feeders. The season's coming now. Right now they're really busy gathering acorns and walnuts and things like that, but I've had them coming up the last few days at the feeder, so the squirrel season is really beginning as the bird feeder season begins as well. So my number one way of keeping squirrels out of bird feeders are baffles. Now these are raccoon baffles, so they're longer than a typical squirrel baffle, but this is so I can keep the raccoons and the squirrels out of climbing into my bird feeders. I love them. I can put them out here, but the most important thing you got to remember is that squirrels have limits to their jumping ability, so positioning your poles with raccoon or squirrel baffles is really, really important. If these poles were too close to something they could jump from, they would do me no good because you're not taking away the air attack. So if the tree limbs are within 7, 8, 9, 10 feet of your pole setup, they'll just run and jump off the limb and come and land on the top of your bird feeder and bypass your baffle. So make sure that your poles are out about 10 feet away from any jumping surface. That means deck railings. That means a bird bath that may be sitting out in your yard, because they'll climb up on that and jump over the top of the baffle. So remember, they do have limits to how far they can jump, and also is how high they can jump. So jump straight up in the air about 4.5 feet. So I always recommend that you mount your baffles so that, I like to say good 4.5 feet, especially the top of the baffle. The bottom of the baffle obviously can be lower because they can't climb. Our black lab used to love to chase the squirrels out here, and they would often hide up inside the baffles to get away from her. So it doesn't matter. They can't climb those baffles, but they just need to they'll try to jump over on top of them. So a good pole system with a baffle on it, a good baffle, these long, we call them the stovepipes, are the best for keeping raccoons from being able to climb and squirrels from being able to jump. So a good pole system, good stout pole system that won't bend in the wind with a good baffle on it is my number one choice for keeping squirrels out of your bird feeders. We're continuing our conversation about battling squirrels, and one of the things that a lot of people have in their yard that they can use to hang bird feeders from, of course, are their trees, the tree limbs. Well, squirrels climb trees very, very well, and there's lots of limbs. So if you're going to hang a bird feeder from a tree, there's several things you need to know. One is baffles. Like a top baffle like this one is big enough so that when that squirrel comes down and he tries to come across the side of this, he's not going to be able to get to your bird feeder. But the mistake most people make with a baffle like this, they put it too close to the trunk of the tree. They need to be at least 4 feet away from the trunk of the tree, because the squirrel will climb right up the trunk and he'll jump from the trunk over onto your bird feeder under your baffle. So you need to make sure that your placement of your baffle is far enough out that that squirrel has to come out on the limb and come down the pole to get on the top of the baffle, and then it'll slide off. So you can effectively feed from trees. The baffles are number one. One of the places that I've always recommended, especially for my hummingbird feeders, is feeding from under the eave of your house. And I do that a lot. This is my usual hummingbird spot every year, but in the winter the hummingbirds aren't here, so I can replace it with a seed feeder. This is a hooded seed feeder, so it gets a little more extra protection, but the eaves give you protection from rain as well. So it's a good spot for a finch feeder. It's a good spot for just about any kind of seed feeder. Peanut feeders we've hung here before. But the reason why I like it is because it's almost impossible for squirrels to get to. You hang it in front of a window, in the middle of the window, and they can't climb the glass. And even like if I were to take the window screen off, of course sometimes the squirrels will climb the window screen, so I'd take that off, but they can't climb the glass. So it's a very effective way to keep feeders away from squirrels. Now obviously you have to worry about underneath there, and if you got holes falling on your deck and things like that, so things to consider. But a really good way to keep squirrels out of a bird feeder is hanging from under the eave. We're out on the deck today because we're talking about how to battle squirrels and a little bit raccoons when feeding from your deck, because those two are a difficult combination, because squirrels are so athletic and they can climb just about anything. So they can climb deck railings, they can get onto your deck from many different ways, trees, things like that. And then so people who hang their feeders from their deck, because a lot of times that's the only way they can really view their feeders very well from inside their houses is from their deck. So, you know, we have a lot of deck arms, and one of the most popular things we sell at our store are deck arms. But for a squirrel to get onto a feeder that's on a deck arm, and it doesn't matter the shape or the size. People think that I can make it taller, I can make it stick out further, and the squirrels can't climb. They can, and of course they can jump right out. So what I have hanging on this feeder is the #1 method of beating squirrels from your deck, and that is a squirrel-proof feeder. This is a Squirrel Buster Classic, and the cage slides down and covers the seed whenever the squirrel has to climb out on there. I've got it, this arm hangs far enough out that the squirrel can't reach out and grab it and pull it over to him. He has to go up on the deck arm and then climb down, and then the squirrel cage goes down, blocks the seed, they can't get to it. Now, if this were a shorter deck arm, say if this deck arm only hung to about here, then the squirrel could just reach over and pull the feeder to them, so it would not be effective. It has to be hung properly to be effective. And so that is method #1. Whenever you want to feed birds from your deck, but the squirrels are a problem, is a good quality squirrel-proof feeder. Now, there are other ways to battle them. And I'll take this one down, and I'll put another feeder up here that isn't squirrel proof at all. Well, you say, wait a minute, Mark, that's got a hood on it. The squirrels can't get past that. Oh, yes, they can. All they got to do is climb right in, just jump right over, grab, and next thing you know, they're inside your feeder. So this is not squirrel proof. This is a hood, a rain protector more than anything. Now, this one does raise and lower so that you can make this hood lower, but I would not count on this to keep squirrels out. So if you have a feeder more like this and you're going to feed from your deck, then you're going to want to make other choices with your foods. This has nut and berry right now, which the squirrels would absolutely love that seed, though they can get into it. So instead of that, you would probably want to go with maybe just straight safflower seed. Squirrels do not like the taste of it. Cardinals love it, house finches love it, mourning doves love it. The chickadees, titmice will all eat it, but the squirrels really don't like it, and the blackbirds don't like it. So this type of seed, regular safflower or even Nutrisaf in a feeder like this, is good to hang on your deck because of what the squirrels don't like it. Yeah, the alternative to that, of course, is the new hot seed, like Sizzling Heat from Wild Delight. It's pre-treated with hot sauce, and the squirrels do not like the taste of it. It's like you and I biting into a spicy food. We don't want to take a second bite, right? So we don't eat it anymore. So that's how we train squirrels that way. And we also have like flaming squirrel, which is an additive, the oil that you can add to your favorite blend of the bird seed to make it hot and spicy. Now, another seed that they don't like very much, like the safflower, is straight Niger. So if you want to put a finch feeder here and hang a finch feeder, if you hang like your favorite finch mix in it, or something that's got sunflower chips in it, they love that, and the squirrels are going to chew right through your feeder. They're going to try to harass it. They can try to get that sunflower chips out there. The straight Niger, they do not like. They don't like to taste that. So straight Niger feeders hanging from a deck railing is a safe way to go. So it's not impossible to feed from your deck. It's just a little more challenging than other methods. So that's a good idea for a program, because the squirrels are a major problem for a lot of us. So give us a like, give us a share. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe. Until then, come on, let's talk birds.